I was going to talk about grafting. Do people know about grafting tomatoes as well? There's a couple of ways you can graft tomatoes. Why would you graft a tomato? Anybody bought a grafted tomato? Yeah, what do you think? How'd they go? Oh, yeah, didn't set the world on fire, did they? No. Clive Lazy from Diggers did a couple of things on it. He actually compared grafted with non-grafted, and he found the grafted was actually 40% less in production than just a normal seedling, which is interesting. So, don't know. But it costs a lot more money.
Actually, I tried grafting once onto this thorny devil or something.
Yep. Oh, thorny devil.
Yeah, it looks a bit like your plant there.
I've got that actually. Thank you for reminding. That's the plant the lady's referring to.
Is that the one that's gone crazy in your place?
That's the one that's gone crazy in my place, yeah. This is one of the solanums that has been commonly used for rootstock. It's a true tree. It'll get to about that big and about that wide. It's a massive plant. And you can grow eggplants under this, you can grow tomatoes on this and things like that, with the view of making them more perennial based. And you can do that, but the downside is it's extremely hard to control the plant. It suckers madly, and you end up with a forest of them. So it's probably not a good one that I would recommend. It's interesting, but probably not ideal.
Well, somebody said that it increases the bad stuff in the tomatoes. You know, that nightshade bad stuff.
I haven't come across that. Haven't noticed any differences as far as that goes. It's possible. Grafting stock will reflect onto the plant, but I haven't heard of that as yet. Okay. The Italian community, as far as I know, have been using this rootstock for the last 25, 30, whatever years, and they're still using it. I won't recommend it because it suckers too badly, but other than that, it would be fine.
Why you get a decreased yield in 1 year, the fact that it becomes more of a perennial, do you get an increased yield over a longer
You get them earlier, and that's mainly the reason for grafting them onto these sorts of stocks, is you get the fruit a lot longer, a lot earlier in the season. Particularly the eggplants, the Italian community in particular graft their eggplants onto this, because eggplants don't start good production until almost March, April, and they want them sooner and sooner and sooner. Of course they do. And so that's why they use that as a rootstock. Particularly good. There's a few different ways you can graft tomatoes. I'd be interested in actually getting hold of some of these original forms of tomato and grafting them onto those and see if that changes the characteristics. I think that'd be a really interesting experiment. The grafting stock that they currently use, if you buy a grafted tomato, is you pay $40 for 50 seeds. So it's really expensive stock. It's all hybridised, U-Butte, wonderful. It's mainly used for commercial production. As far as, I'm not too sure if it actually increases it though. I haven't seen any stats on it. And I suspect for urban production, it doesn't make any difference. But they certainly use it in commercials, and as far as under houses and things like that. You can do an approach graft. You've got you grow 2 tomatoes in the same pot, and then you make a small cut, and you just cut them over and you graft them and bind them together. And then over time, there's your root systems. There's your Solanaceae, or your beefsteak or whatever. So you just, eventually you'll remove that and remove that top, and then away it goes. So it's just basically putting 2 plants together, just like that, and separating them once the graft is taken. And you just bind them up in the centre. It's really quite a simple, almost foolproof way to graft. With this sort of grafting, what they do is they actually take the top off like that, and get a knife and cut down the centre like that, without cutting your fingers off. And then they get a small piece of tomato or eggplant or something similar. Basically like that. Cut it on an angle with a pair of not secateurs, but a decent pair of knives, and then basically just insert it. like that. And take that up, and that'll be your graft. That's another way of going with it.
How would you go running the Thorny Devil in a pot? Would it be?
I'd recommend them only for pots. Yeah. If you wanted to try it, certainly do it. They do eventually produce seed, and the fruit's all seed. There's nothing in the seed at all. There's some publications say they're edible. I wouldn't even like to try it. There's nothing to recommend it at all. So that's basically what you do with those. Any other questions on grafting?
How early in the season would you graft that sort of? Would you, if you had the luxury of a greenhouse, would you be able to do that midwinter to get those out early enough?
If you had a heated glasshouse, yes.
If
you didn't have a heated glasshouse like we don't, you'd start grafting and sowing your seed and all those sort of things. They actually we start sowing our tomatoes basically in June. So you can start that. And then from that, once you've got a decent plant, then you can start to graft and go from there. But you've just got to wait. Patience with those sorts of things.
Still a lot quicker than planting them out in September.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're going to have some production. You can see this one here, for example. That's got fruit on it. It's been grown pretty much under here. It popped up around May. It was just a chance seedling that popped up in the compost outside, funny enough. Didn't pop up that year. So we took it and we grew it up, and there you go. So we've got tomatoes early.